Welcome back to OneMDHealth, where science meets soul. So the idea is that medicine is not just about science, it's also about soul. So I wanted to do a little bit of a reflective solo podcast today. And I just wanted to kind of reflect about everything in life, well, particularly midlife. After having a few guests on the show, it is honestly so humbling to realize like how so many people in your life can play a role in your overall health and wellness. And particularly midlife is where you kind of realize all those things. And nobody told me midlife would feel like this. When we think about midlife, we think about, okay, this is where we're supposed to be, this is how things are supposed to go, and we figured our whole world out, our whole life out. And here we are, and our life is nothing like what we thought it would be, good or bad, basically. So what do I mean by that? Well, I've been thinking about midlife a lot lately, and not just as a physician, not just as someone who helps patients navigate hormones and health, but as a woman living through it. When we're young, we make assumptions. We assume our bodies will always work the way they do today. We assume our energy will always be there. We assume our careers will continue on a predictable path. We assume our marriages will last. Sometimes they don't. We assume our parents will always be here and support us in everything we do. We assume our careers will continue on a predictable path and we will grow old becoming this particular type of physician or this particular type of entrepreneur, but those moments change, those feelings change, everything can change during this time. And it's not always emotional, it's biological. We assume friendships will stay the same. We will always be close to that particular person no matter what. That one particular friend that we met in grade school that carried us through high school, college. Unfortunately, that friendship dies down. People change, people evolve. You change, you evolve. So what does that lead us to? And when one day you wake up and you realize life has changed, and maybe nobody prepared you for that. Not at all. So we think about midlife. We think about midlife crisis is what they call it, right? The midlife crisis. But it's really, to me, an awakening. It's midlife awakening. People think it's about sports cars, cosmetic procedures, impulsive decisions, new relationships, new friendships, new experiences. It could be that, but it's not always that. That's not always what really happens. What happens always is awareness, you start noticing mortality. You're getting older. Your body doesn't function the way it used to. Hormones are changing. You also started noticing time. We don't have as much time as we thought we did. Life is passing us by. We also notice energy. We notice other people's energy around us. We notice our own energy. We also wonder, is this how we want to show up in the world, like this? We also, and the biggest thing for me is purpose. We realize purpose. We begin asking, is this really the life I want? Is this really the life I built? Is this how I want to spend the rest 30, 40 years of my life? With this person, with this friendship? We always have to question everything. Do you ever always wonder why all of a sudden in this particular time in our life, things always sometimes feel chaotic and not the same? I think for me, I really, really felt that during this time in midlife. Because what I have done is I left certainty. I left a marriage that wasn't for me. Just leave it at that. I left friendships that no longer served me. I started changing my own environment with new friendships, new relationships. And it was very scary at first. But you always wonder, where did this come from? How did this come from? Well, it's really biology. So you ask bigger questions about your life for a reason. Not because you were having a crisis, so to speak, but because you were evolving. And evolving is actually very healthy. So why does everything start changing? This isn't just emotional, as I mentioned. There are biological reasons why midlife feels different. And they're different for men and women. So for women, we get perimenopause, menopause. That word is everywhere now. It's because women are waking up. That's what the midlife awakening is, or the midlife reset that we call it, or the midlife upgrade as we call it. Estrogen shifts, progesterone declines, testosterone goes down, cortisol goes up, and then it gets depleted. All those famous hormones. Thyroid can start just doing its own thing. Gut health becomes an issue because if we don't heal nutrition and absorption in our gut, then we cannot function like we used to. We did not have all these modalities back 20, 30 years ago. Now science has evolved, functional medicine has evolved, and that's why we are here for it. The brain fog comes because life changes, life shifts, life happens, weight changes, weight distribution changes, skin quality changes for women, mood changes, so everything is linked. So you realize when you lose your hormones in women, you lose the bullshit, basically, too. The stuff that you used to tolerate in your 20s and 30s become non-negotiable in your 40s and 50s. And the reason is because you are over it. Now, I've been studying this a lot, and I've been thinking about, okay, what about our mothers and our grandmothers in their time? Why were they able to tolerate the bullshit? Why were they able to ignore their hormones? But what you need to realize is that they weren't really ignoring their hormones. They just had no choice. So deep down, they were dying inside, and they were losing themselves inside. And we grew up that that's just how it is, and that we just don't have any control of how we age, of where our life goes. And that's not true. There's an awakening happening. We have more control than we can imagine. We have new renovations in science. We are now realizing, especially in functional medicine, how emotional health is tied to physical and biological health. So therefore, we have to grow and we have to evolve. And if the friendships and the relationships that we have in our life are not growing and evolving with us, they simply fall off. And that is okay. And that is what we have to teach ourselves. And that is what we have to teach our patients and our clients, that it's okay to evolve. It's okay to grow into the human being you're meant to be. Who you are at age 20 and 30 is not who you're going to be 50, 60, 70. So if your partner is not evolving with you, you will have issues. If your friendships do not evolve and celebrate you, you will have issues. Gone are the times where we put up with things. Women are more educated now, women are growing now, and they know what they want more than anything now. And they're more financially independent, and they're not afraid to speak their mind. And that is what we call evolving of generations. It's not about staying the same, and it's also not about breaking tradition. Tradition is important, but it's also about evolving traditions. It's also about evolving into a stronger generation, is where I'm here for. And there's biology in that. So if we have special testing in functional medicine for gut health, for nutrient deficiencies, for emotional well-being, regenerative medicine, why not use it? Why do we need to be ashamed of it? But that also starts with us listening to our mind, our brain, our heart, and our soul. It's not just about looking at numbers and looking at lab values and looking at what does this stick, does that stick? No, it is really about really understanding you as a whole person. So that's where women are evolving, that they want more out of their life now. They want to understand their biology. They want to understand their mental health, because now they're realizing mental health and physical health are all linked. So that's why midlife is actually a beautiful transition. It's where you get to be who you really were meant to be, not what people told you that you need to be. Have you ever, in your 20s and 30s, were told by your parents, or even told by loved ones, relatives, or even teachers, that you should be this, you should be that. Once you achieve this, you can do this. Marry this type of person, go into this type of field. This is the way. Make this amount of money. But has anybody ever told you, or even taught you, to listen to your heart, listen to your soul, what matters to you? Now, this doesn't mean that education is not important. Education is. I tell my children that every day. You cannot be and do anything without education. You can't help anyone unless you are someone yourself. So I'm not saying that you should not be anything or do anything and be educated. What I am saying is heart and soul matter as well. And it's also about listening to your own heart and soul. And when you get to a point in midlife, you start to have that strength and you have that empowerment feeling that this is where I want to be and this is what I want to do. And a lot of times, you have to almost let go of that certainty that someone is going to tell you how to live your life and give you the blueprint and it's all going to work out. It's not always like that. Sometimes you have to build your own blueprint. Sometimes you have to find your own blueprint. And it's scary and it's fearful, but sometimes you just have to get there and go for it. And that's what midlife really is. It's an awakening and a teaching. So that's how it is for women. Now for men, I believe it's almost the same thing too. There are definitely hormonal changes that happen in men as well. There's testosterone decline, but there's also nutrient deficiency decline. There is also issues with recovery after exercise. There's muscle loss. There's motivation changes, energy shifts as well. Men go through the same type of feeling that women do, but they just process it differently. Men come later about issues where women are on top of how they feel. They're very in tune with their emotional well-being. Because we taught men to not listen to their heart and to think of things more pragmatically, more practically. And it's very hard to get away from that mindset. But what that mindset does, it basically makes you suppress how you're really feeling, and then it can come out and show up in chronic disease. And then where are we left with after that? We are left with dealing the aftermath of basically shutting down who we are. And so that's where the midlife awakening comes, that it's not just about hormones, it's not just about what everybody else wants you to be or do. It's about where do you want to be? Hormones may start the conversation, but they are not the whole story. Your loved ones, your relatives, your teachers, they may guide you in what you may want to be and what may work for you. But they don't always have the answers as you get older and as you realize what really works for you. So, what identities do we outgrow? Well, this is where things really start to change. So what identities do we outgrow? Well, careers that no longer fit, relationships that no longer serve you, friendships that feel fake and feel performative, versions of ourselves where we thought we fit into this mold, where we fit into this career, they no longer fulfill us. That is okay. And what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just ignore that? Are we supposed to just pretend that doesn't exist? No, that's not what midlife awakening is about. It's about evolving and growing. It's about hearing those voices. It's about respecting that and realizing, okay, what is it that I need to do next to really feel that this is what is for me? And if it's not, what can I do to change it? Is really how we need to approach it. And sometimes midlife isn't always about finding yourself. It's about releasing the version of yourself that you've been carrying for decades. This is where you need to feel seen. This is where you need to be in places that hear you and allow you to expand. And if that is not your friendships, if that is not your relationship, if that is not where you work, then you need to go where you feel heard. Because no one's going to give you anything in this world. You all obviously have to go out and get it. So I want to definitely touch on, okay, why did I create OneMDHealth? And how does this all play into, from what I'm saying, into my practice? Well, OneMDHealth is really coming back to yourself. That's where one stands for. We are all one. We have to become one. We have to become one within ourselves. We have to identify with our body. We have to identify with our mind, because our mind and our body and our soul are all one. That's really what it is. And that's why I created OneMDHealth. Listening to your soul, listening to your mind and what it needs. So what does it need? It needs a great environment to thrive. So therefore, relationships need to feel heard, need to feel loving. Now that doesn't mean that everyone is perfect. No relationship is perfect. You end one relationship tomorrow, the other relationship will give you different problems. That's just the way it is. But does that person in your life elevate you? Does that person in your life celebrate you? Does that person in your life understand you? Does that person in your life inspire you? Do you feel safe around that person? That's what's important. That is basically becoming one within yourself. And that is wellness to me. The other thing about OneMD Health is what biological characteristics do we look for as we approach the midlife? This is where OneMD Health's heart and soul is. Doing certain blood work, like assessing nutrient deficiencies, assessing hormones, but most importantly, assessing gut health. How is our gut health doing? The gut is our terrain. That is where we absorb emotions. It's not just about biology and probiotics and bacteria. Yes, it is, but it's also about how do we hold ourselves in our emotional terrain. So OneMD Health to me became like a mission. As I went through my own evolution, I realized something. Patients weren't coming to me because they wanted another prescription. They were coming because they wanted someone to help them understand what was happening to them during this time in their life. Not just physically, emotionally, but spiritually and mentally. They wanted someone to connect the dots. So that's why I created OneMD Health. Health is, yes, it's hormones, it's nutrition, it's sleep, it's stress, it's relationships, but it's also community and it's purpose. And of course, exercise, movement. So many people always ask me a little bit like, well, what is it that you actually do? What is it that you really do for patients? Like what makes you stand out from me getting my labs done from my primary or getting my labs done online from Function Health? Well, you need someone to interpret those labs, right? And your primary is definitely needed in your journey for health. But in functional medicine, we dig deeper. We talk about how your body's working together, how your organs is all working together to help you thrive. That's what I do differently. I connect the dots of gut health, nutrient deficiencies, hormones, and overall well-being of your environment and how that works for you. I create a personalized care plan that works only for you. There's no one-size-fits-all protocol. There is no such thing as what will work for this patient will work for you. Everyone is individualized. So I talk about different things that change in midlife. Fatigue is a big one. Hormones change, so we're more tired, more exhausted more than usual. Weight distribution, body changes, biological changes, hormone shifts, gut health, longevity. How can Healthspan be amazing during this time? And what is different from lifespan and Healthspan? Lifespan is basically the idea of aging. 60s, 70s, that's lifespan. How long do you live life? But Healthspan is the quality of life. How's the quality of life of yours? Are you able to play with your grandchildren in your 70s, 80s? Or would you be bedbound? Do you have enough muscle to preserve to hike a mountain and travel with your loved ones? Or would you be suffering falls, which I see in the hospital? So there are so many different ways of looking at things. So it's about listening to patients effectively of their issues, because everybody's issue is different. It's about root cause investigation, of really understanding of what happened first and how we can tackle it instead of putting Band-Aids. It's about getting advanced labs. You need to look at your labs like special data. And this is not just about getting routine labs every year and looking at things across the surface. It's really about data, investigating data. Like, what are my labs telling me? What are my labs saying about my overall biological health? And it's really about monitoring those labs and making sure you're making the proper changes for overall health. Because whatever you do in your 30s and 40s, it's going to transcend what you do, what happens, and how you thrive in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and so forth. And biology changes, therefore, you have to change along with that. And there are ways that can work beautifully together. And it's really about incorporating everything that at your feet. It's not just about pharmaceutical medications. However, when they are needed, we do it. but it's also about incorporating supplements, but definitely incorporating whole food based diet. Really, really important for incorporating that. It's about incorporating exercise. And exercise changes in midlife. Before, doing those HIIT workouts, running, that was something that we all felt like we needed to do. Not against running, but strength training becomes non-negotiable in midlife. That's when you cannot ignore strength training. 3 to 4 times per week, about 40 to 50 minutes per session. A total of 150 minutes per week of strength training and good exercise is non-negotiable in midlife, because muscle preservation is insurance, is life insurance. That's how I want you to look at it. Muscle preservation is life insurance for you in your later years. Protein becomes non-negotiable. 35 to 45 grams of protein within each meal is non-negotiable. Sleeping 7-8 hours per night, non-negotiable. Minimizing toxins such as alcohol, smoking, non-negotiable. Our liver ages, just like every organ in our body. But our liver is literally like the janitor of our body, okay? If we do not protect our liver, clear our liver, that's when trash builds up in our body. And the most common cause of chronic disease is actually toxins causing oxidative stress to our cells. Believe it or not, it really is. That's what I see mostly in my practice. Oxidative stress from cells due to toxins is what's driving the chronic disease and cancer. So let's talk a little bit also about cancer. What are some lab values that indicate possible, and I'm not saying because these are elevated or abnormal that you are going to get cancer. That is not the purpose of this. But there are certain trends that you can identify, which I look at, to kind of help prevent cancer down the line. Number one is fasting insulin. Fasting insulin is more of a sensitive marker for insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes. You want a fasting insulin level of less than 5. You want your cells to be sensitive to insulin as much as possible so that metabolism can just flow through freely, and so that blood sugars do not spike, and so that weight gain does not happen during this time. Second thing we look at, iron levels, ferritin. Ferritin is very important. Ferritin is a marker for iron storage in our body. I want you to look at iron more than just hemoglobin and energy, it is those things as well, but it's also food for your cells. It is basically the nutrition that your cells need to work properly. And if your cells do not work properly, therefore hormones can't work properly, because hormones have to connect onto cells, on their receptors, to work properly and to be functioning well. So those things are very important. Third thing, ESR, HSCRP, number 4. These are inflammatory markers. And when we see inflammation being high during this time, then we really worry about inflammation. We worry about underlying low-grade chronic inflammation. So these 4 markers are really, really important to assess there is something going on underlying, and we need to investigate further. So that's really what's very powerful about midlife. It's like taking control of your own health and also listening to your own voice and becoming your own person. And that's what OneMDHealth is about. It's about becoming your own person. And I help you do that and bring that to the forefront. So I realized one thing I want to leave you with. The older I get, the less interested I am in perfection. I used to worry so much about how I looked on camera. I used to worry so much about it, how I looked on camera. Does this angle work for me? Does this angle not work for me? And there are some times in some of these camera angles, I'm like, oh my goodness, why did I do that? Oh gosh, my hair looks terrible. What did I do? Like, oh my God, did I really wear that? But I realized, that's what makes me human. That's what humanity is all about. It's not about perfection. You get to the point also in midlife where you just don't give an F. You really just don't. And that is the beauty of midlife. Because you get to that point where, who are you performing for? Who are you pretending to be? It's really about knowing who you are. So you just kind of get to the point where, you just need to live and be happy, because you are responsible for that. Nobody else is. It's not about entertaining what others feel works. It's really about listening to your own heart. So I'm more interested in truth, not perfection. I'm more interested in alignment, not fakeness. I'm more interested in living a life that actually feels like mine, not entertaining somebody else's idea. If you're listening today and you feel like something is changing, maybe you're not falling apart. Maybe you're growing into the next version of yourself. And maybe that's exactly what midlife is supposed to do. So enjoy the journey of growth. Come to me so you can get some more answers about your biology, about your emotional well-being, and how we can make that better for you. Thank you for listening to OneMD Health, where science meets soul. I appreciate all of you very much. Thank you for visiting OneMD Health Podcast. Please like and subscribe if this podcast resonates with you. If you have any questions, please visit my website, SamiyaHashmiMD.com.